So good afternoon all. This is session 2. Skilling is global necessity. Can technology make the world more skilled? We have eminent panelists, Dr. Ashwini Sharma and Dr. Pradeep Sharma, and Dr. Raj Nehru will join in a while. Dr. Ashwini Sharma is Director General of VIPS. He is former Vice Chancellor of Symbiosis Skills and Professional University, Puneet. Dr. Sharma has also served Director General of National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. Dr. Sharma, I welcome you in the show. The other guest is Dr. Pradeep Sharma, Director, Academic Affairs, ISBAT University, Uganda. He has served in various capacities as faculty member of Computer Science and Engineering, had training in development, academic administration, accreditations, ranking, and benchmarking. Welcome, Dr. Pradeep. NEP has, put a thrust on experience-based learning. And of course, when you undergo through any experience-based learning, you acquire necessary set of skills. So skilling, re-skilling, and upskilling, these are the new mantras for the youth of today. Dr. Sharma, Ashwini ji, I would like to ask this question from you. Skilling, re-skilling, and upskilling. What are the challenges for future to address the needs of Industrial Revolution 4.2?
See, Mr. Puneet, I think you yourself is answering the question that Industrial Revolution 4.0 is by default asking for understanding of the technology. And once we are going for Industrial Revolution 4.0, there are many skill sets which are required, which includes the complex problem solving, which includes decision making, which includes use of technology. So once we are going for an Industrial Revolution 4.0, we have to go for skilling. And once we say we are skilled, we have to definitely go for upskilling or maybe reskilling. I will give you a very typical example that what has been taught to us or what we have been following the system as on date, that is basically mainly based on knowledge. That means knowledge-based education system. But now we are basically moving based on the NEP 2020 and looking to the industrial requirement. Now we are moving more towards hands-on based education, which means the experiential learning is mandate, where you learn something, you based on the outcome again you try to improve that and learn that. It is not basically where you have to pass some exam. Here it is a skill-based system. Now when we have been talking of that, it has become very important because in the times to come, when we are saying when we are planning to go for Industrial Revolution 4.0, the way things are changing, the way economization of global economization is happening, the way economics is going to become a game changer, it is expected that things will change very fast because with the involvement of Industrial Revolution 4.0, there will be jobless also, there will be losses in the jobs. There will be requirement of the new jobs also, which means new job roles will come up, whereas some job roles will be disappearing. For example, let's say in assembly and production, it is expected in Germany, there will be around loss of around 6.10 jobs in Germany. On the other side, because of new technology, because of robotization, AI, and other new technology, it is possible that almost 9.6 lakh new jobs will be created. So once we are saying new jobs will be created, we definitely have to first of all go for skilling. In case we are already skilled, to meet the challenge of new technology, we have to go for upskilling, because we have to either upskill, or in case we want to change the job role within the same company, we have to say that we have to go for reskill. But that's the only way. So I think there's a need of time. There is no substitute to this in the times to come. And it has become a mantra of NEP 2020, and even the government of India also is emphasizing very much on skilling, reskilling, and upskilling. Which means those who are skilled, they have to reskill into new job roles, and those who are reskilled, they have to upskill, because in case they want to continue with the same job role, or in case they want to continue with the same organization. So I think it's a need of time now.
Well explained the tone of the today's session, Dr. Sharma. Coming to Pradeep, Dr. Pradeep, your take on the these three terms: skilling, reskilling, and upskilling, and how are they going to connect in terms of addressing the need of manpower for Industrial Revolution 4.0?
Right. Thank you, Professor Puneet. Actually, when we see the concern of Industrial Revolution 4.0, then with Industrial Revolution, because always there was a demand since 97 revolution was started. With every industrial revolution, there was to address the challenges of industrial revolution, there was an education system. Like when we talk about the IR 1, 2, 3, 4, similarly, we also have the education system, education 1.0, 2.0, which is now going education 4.0. Most of the universities in the world, the education 4.0, to address the problems or the challenges, I will not say problems, but the challenges of industrial revolution. And now even the industry is moving towards industrial 5.0 also. So when I talk about the challenges of industrial revolution, it's now 4.0 currently. So
Dr. Pradeep, some technical glitches there. We are unable to hear you. Dr. Pradeep, are you there?
yeah, I'm here. I think for a few seconds, the connection was gone.
No,
Okay, so am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. So basically, when we talk about the challenges of industrial revolution, then definitely as the industry is changing, the major role of changing industry is that introduction to the disruptive technologies. So when we talk about the disruptive technologies, now every business, every way of working is changing towards the artificial intelligence, machine learning, deeper learning, then blockchain technologies, augmented realities. So everything, even similarly, to address such challenges of industrial revolution, there is no doubt that the demand is there for reskilling and upskilling. When we talk about the skilling, it means already the educational institutions are working towards it, that already the education 4.0 has been implemented and people are coming up with a new skill. But the really problem comes what to do for those people who already have been skilled last 1 or 2 decades before. Because when we are going to reskilling or upskilling or reskilling, then there are certain again some challenges. When we go for upskilling or reskilling, the major first challenge comes that about the change management. Because the people who are used to work in one kind of approach, how to solve a problem, they find that if industry is changing in after 2-3 years, why do I need to change my style? Because everybody is not changing every time. So one kind of mindset change that what I have studied, suppose I have done my 2 doctorates. So I have done my doctorate in management studies also and then IT also. Why I did 2 masters? It was not the plan that if I will get 2, I will get double seats. It was not the major thing is. Why, like similarly, the previous session was going that we should go for more and more accreditation rankings to benchmark the quality of education. Why people need to go for more and more things? Because for resilience towards the changing requirements of the industry, because industry changes will be changed, like requirements will be changed again and again. So when we talk about the upskilling or reskilling challenges, the major challenges comes that most of the time, organizations themselves and the people, personally people also, they are not evaluating themselves very frequently that what I need to do after 5 years. Like we make a strategic planning for the university or business houses, then we also need to make strategic planning for our own self, that what is my future role or the organizational role in next 5 years or 10 years. And accordingly, we need to make assessments and take appropriate actions for reskilling, upskilling first. And if I feel that, okay, my studies were already 20 years back or 10 years before, and now the things are changed, definitely I need to go for reskilling in that. So challenges are there. And the solution for that is definitely reskilling, upskilling. But apart from that, when there are lots of opportunities are also available because of Industrial Revolution 4.0. When we talk about the opportunities, if we take some small statistics, like I'm in Uganda right now in Africa. So when we see in Uganda, in this country, the almost 78% Ugandan population is below the age of 35. It means the most of young people, almost 78% people are there in this bracket. And the government has already taken the initiatives. They're changing in the national education policy. They have made mandatory IT literacy and leveraging ICT for all kinds of jobs. Also, like they have made skill development programs, different ministries, they are working on it. Similarly, if I talk about the neighboring country, Kenya, in Kenya, 75%, Kenya is the 7th largest country in the world in terms of its population. So, and in that country also, 75% of the population is in between 18 to 35 age of ratio. And the Kenyan national policy, which was launched in 2019, they also have the vision to make Kenya a global competitive knowledge-based industry. And they are making all budgets. Similarly, like Nigeria, 70% of population. And if I talk about India, like already the population is nearly 114 million, 1.4 billion. So almost 50% of the population, like nearly 700 million people, are in the young age. So when we see the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship in India has already formulated a policy that during the COVID time, when so many labor and other workers were migrating from one state to other state, then the government has made a special scheme that is called Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. So under that scheme, they have invested millions of dollars that how to upgrade the skills of the people so that they can work from anywhere. And the new national policy, education policy, that is NEP 2020, it is also focusing lots of skilling, reskilling, and upskilling. So that definitely. So I will say that when we have lots of challenges, we also have with the industrial revolution lots of opportunities. Opportunities are also related that now with the new industrial revolution, we can do all the things in real time. So real time computing, real time reaching to the customer, meeting to all your stakeholders. So there are so much chances that you can get what the challenges are there. But definitely in these challenges, if we go with the right potential work on the upskilling and reskilling, we can convert those challenges into opportunities actually. Hello.
Hello, sorry. Thank you, Dr. Pradeep and Dr. Ashwini. So institutions, those who inculcate this culture of skilling and reskilling in their academic institutions, along with academic activities, they are going to be benefited to address when it comes to providing manpower for various industries and keeping their manpower intact or job ready. So when it comes to India, we say more people, more technology, more jobs. How to build inclusive growth? Dr. Pradeep, your take on that.
Right, please. So basically, I will say, like, number one, when we say more people, like the populations, and especially the young population also is very high in most of the world, in most of the countries now. So automatically, when there will be so much of new technologies are emerging now, people are going towards more. But the major thing comes like people think that maybe how to build inclusive growth. So when we talk about the inclusive growth, first of all, the inclusive means when we are taking everybody together. Like in United Nations also, they have made the agenda, that is the Sustainable Development Goal 4, that talks about the inclusive people from all the sectors together into the growth. It is not very simple, and one thing is there that we have to take all the people together. It's very challenging, but how to build inclusive growth? For that one, I will say that the remark or the punchline given by our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, that sir has given one punchline, that Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. So this is one of the punchline that Honorable Prime Minister sir had also given, that how to build the inclusive activity or inclusive growth. Inclusive growth we can make when we have, like, at one side the educational industries, who are making their efforts for new skillings and the reskilling, so that people from the all age groups, because in education, skilling, upskilling, there is no age bar. So all the people can come up for the new skill growth, changing in the skill sets. We have the proper, in that way, we will have proper supply of people. A supply chain will be created of trained manpowers and people who are losing the job, because now the industry 4.0 has come up and lots of jobs are changing. So changing job is not a threat if we are ready to make ourselves resilient or adaptive towards the new technologies. So what small things I will give from my side, like some recommendations that how we can build inclusive growth. Like first of all, like we can say, like the promotion of quality education, which includes the ICT skill also, whether I'm going to be a medical doctor, whether I'm going to be a lawyer, engineer, or a civil engineer or biomedical engineer. But I need to, because without IT, now no work, no business, no shopping mall can survive now. So first thing, we need to include education, ICT into the all sphere of educational wings. Number one. Number two, for inclusive growth, it is important that we need to consider about the social sector's development, because if I am only happy, but in my surroundings, people are crying, then I cannot remain happy. So inclusive growth is that if I am growing or my company is growing, it is not the growth of inclusive growth. We need to see some kind of like energy subsidy reforms, which already government is so much doing, then agricultural growth, that how you can make, and then regional disparity. Most of the time, because like India is a very big country, even it itself is containing the population of multiple countries inside in one country. So one thing is there, that when we go for reduction of regional, like similarly when we talk about the Africa, there is east, west, north, south, different parts of Africa. In East Africa itself, there are nearly more than 10, 15 countries are there. So when we talk about the Indian concern, then we first have to overcome from the disparity at regional level. We need to think that one India, one work, and make in India, or the Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas, so that when we will come out from the regional diversity, or the production environment, taking care of environments, schooling, education, then definitely this inclusive growth may happen. And one thing more I was finding, that recently, like if you see the International Monetary Fund, they also have released 20 policies on the inclusive growth of the world, that how we can take care. And most of the policies for inclusive growth are considering that about education, then society, that social sector development, removing the regional dispersity, and coming up with one kind of mindset, one nation, one vision, one mission. That is the main thing, that how we can come out from for the area, for the target of inclusive growth.
Well addressed, Dr. Pradeep. We need to, overcome from the, rather we should get the advantage of regional diversity.
True.
Earlier also we said that every challenge is, sign of opportunity.
Yes.
So, and already government of India is working on the, from being local to global. So if that kind of approach is being adopted, it is going to be an inclusive growth. Coming to Dr. Ashwini ji. Dr. Ashwini ji, are you there?
Yeah, I am there perfectly.
Please, sir. How the convergence of technology, education, and skilling can create a future-ready India?
See, what is happening is now when we are talking about skilling, technology, and education, I think COVID has taught us the lesson where we could have a skill, we could understand the technology also, and basically we could make ourselves educated also. I mean, all three parameters which you have just told, they got clubbed by default, maybe because of COVID or whatever it is. But if you see in last 2-3 years, that's the reason that education is going to be connected with technology. It is going to have an impact from the technology, as well as it is going to have an impact from the skilling. That has become a mandate and the need of the time. For example, I will just mention that in last almost 6-7 years, we could find that we have become the third largest startup ecosystem. Now, when I'm saying the third largest startup ecosystem, it has a direct linkage with the education as well as the use of technology. And of course, because of skilling also. Because in last 5-7 years, the present government of India has come out with a lot of movements which say Skill India, Make in India, Startup India. So this is basically promoting that part. Now NEP 2020 has given more thrust on that, and that is why basically you can say that it is just because we are trying to plug in into the system, a new system where we are trying to say that we need to have technology, as Professor Pradeep also said just now, that without technology now nothing is going to move. And especially after digitalization, intelligent automation, robotization, use of AI, and even all this drone and everything, things are changing. The way of life is changing. The way we live the life is changing. And that's the reason technology has to play a major role into the education system. And that's the reason if we see, that is more visible from the fact that out of the 107 unicorn companies in India, I think almost 17 are from edutech sector. That itself shows that yes, there is a good potential, there is a good growth in terms of edutech sector. When I'm saying edutech sector, which means education and the technology built into the system. Now, third is that skilling part. Now, when we have been going for education, definitely now there is a reimaging of the vocational education, which is becoming a mandate for the colleges, schools to adopt it. This is again a vision of the NEP 2020, where government is trying to plug in into the system that we need to have a skilling from 5th, 7th class onwards, where we need to understand and make a student. Now, if we see in present scenario, a person or a student who has, or a youth who has gone through MA economics, maybe knowing economics, but he doesn't know how to write a letter. He doesn't know how to prepare a CV. That becomes a big issue when you go for the employment part. So that is a skill which has to come up into the system, and that is a skilling which is required for the youth to adapt and understand. So I think education, technology, and skilling, they are all hands in glove. They have to go together in times to come, especially looking to the vision of the government of India, and especially when we have been talking about reimaging of the vocational education as per NEP 2020. And as you said just now, and Dr. Pradeep said, yes, just to promote this skilling, we have been emphasizing on localization of education also. That means the education now can be imparted in technical institutes also in regional languages. And that's the reason AICT is also promoting that. They are converting all books into different languages. They're trying to ensure that you can even go for appearing in the exams also in regional languages. So I think it is happening for the first time. Maybe it was happening somewhere in South, 2-3 places. Now almost all states are trying to pick up this idea and trying to cultivate, because see, once you are going for a regional language, your ideas are more, creative. You can give better ideas, more creativity into the system. So I think now things are changing, and all the three parameters, technology, education, and skilling, they have to go together for the growth of the country.
Dr. Pradeep, would you like to add some more point in the this question?
Yes. This is really very interesting topic, actually. In this one, I will say, like, when we are talking about the three things, first is technology. The technology, I will say, not a single person normally in the countries are there where the tech people are not using technology. Nowadays, like when you say, like, you use your mobile and you say, hey Siri, what is the temperature in Bangalore? What is the temperature in Kashmir or any other place? Just in your voice command, the things are given to you, delivered to you. So technology is something which everybody has to be well-versed, because that is the future. Number two, when we talk about the education, the purpose of education, like I was listening, Professor Sahasrabudhi sir and Agrawal sir, it is very rightly mentioned in that session also. Initially, the purpose of education was just to impart the knowledge. But later on, because the growth enrollment ratio, GER, was very less. But later on, when we got good population, which is coming under literacy, the focus was given that knowledge is not only enough. Like I remember that in 1950s, Bloom's gave a taxonomy where they leveled a 6th level of education learning. in this sixth level of education learning, like we go from the lower level to higher level, knowledge is at the first level of the education, then understanding, applying, how to make applications, how to analyze and how to make it. In 2019, the Bloom's taxonomy are revised. Now, knowledge is no more the main prior necessity. People are going towards the knowledge-based education, towards the outcome-based education and the experiential learning. So similarly, when we talk about the skilling also, like Professor Dr. Sharma sir said, that skilling is now the youth doesn't require only the technical knowledge. Apart from technical knowledge, a lot emphasis need to be given on soft skills, cognitive learnings, like how to do problem solving, critical thinking, how to make a leadership skills. So those things are also very, very important. If after being so much of graduate or postgraduate, person cannot make a CV or cannot face a group discussion, then there is no point of that education. Now the education is going how we can become a lifelong learner, because no one can remain in a college for the whole life. How to inculcate those skills into the person that lifelong the person can enhance his knowledge and become future ready with the changing requirements of the world. It is really very relevant. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving to another question. Low and medium skilled occupations are most affected by technological changes, especially in the MSME sector, and ultimately moving towards automation. How to sustain and rebuild an ecosystem so that older MSMEs, in a case if they are bound to die, the new MSMEs also should emerge. This question is to both of my panelists.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
To begin with,
I think you said very perfectly, very correctly, and it is well pointed out in the present scenario, because MSME are finding difficult, especially when we have been talking about Industrial Revolution 4.0. And when we are going to use the plant, going for the automation of the plant and machinery in every activity, I think this is one of the toughest tasks which MSME will be finding, especially ensuring that the staff, the faculty, or the employees who are working with them are basically in a position to deliver the best. So I think one of the best way which can be thought of is they need to be skilled in use of technology, because that's the way they have to go for that. And secondly, I think they need to be put on more on hands-on on the technology. That is a second parameter which we have to work out, because one robot can replace many employees in MSME. So we have to work out that how they can ensure that they are more economical in terms of usage, and they can deliver the best part of that. As far as the MSC part, SMME part is concerned, it is also a fact that the manpower, the staff which is being employed in these groups, MSME, they're not so much paid by they're not getting that much salary where they can basically take care of the learning or skilling part. So I think somewhere in the policy of the MSME, it has to be built in that some part of training will be imparted as a part of their employment also. The employer has to come forward and they have to start working on the training. For example, if you see the bureaucrats, they every second year they go for a training, maybe here and there. So their learning power, their experience, knowledge is enriched as per the new trend. So I think same concept has to be brought up in the MSME, where the employees are being given training by the employer on the use of technology, or maybe on the use of new skill sets which are required to handle the problem, maybe problem solving, critical thinking, decision making, or whatever it is. They have to be built into the system. I think that is what is must for MSMEs, those who are the owners of the MSMEs.
Yeah, Dr. Pradeep, coming to you. In what way we can develop a sustainable and rebuild the complete ecosystem when it comes to low and medium skilled occupations?
Yes, actually, one thing is there that around the world, because the technology has been penetrated, even you like or not, but the technology has come around the world. The people who are not adaptive or resilient to the technology, automatically they will have no choice. So what the main thing is, around the world, different government agencies, universities, and institutions are making survey that which kind of jobs will be obsolete or will no more in coming 15 to 20 years or 10 to 15 years almost. So when I talk about that, just a simple statistics published by the University of Oxford in the last year, they made a kind of like 10 most probably, they are like in the world you will find 20 jobs, 30 top jobs, but majorly jobs like middle and low skilled, where we find that like the people who are involved in the highest problem will come to those people in the job sector, which are related to like just primarily imparting the primary information, not expertise level. So like if we talk about the people who are into the like loan officers sharing the information what to do, then people who are at the reception or information desk, like almost more than 90% of those jobs will be gone. Then we talk about the job of retail salesmen, then taxi drivers, and those are the people who are giving fundamental knowledge. Even like when we go like to some hospitals, there are some people, doctors are there who are just primarily checking a person what is the problem. Now in many countries, people have replaced that with artificial intelligence based machinery, that you go there are very simple old solution, that is the optical mark reader. You just fill up a form that what problems you are facing, what are the symptoms you are finding, just fill up that form, give it in that machine, and that machine will tell you that, okay, to which specialized doctor or department or room you need to visit. So it means the job of that person who was sitting simply listening to you and advising you where to go already has started going. Similarly, in Japan, the cleaning of railway track, they have started through robots, because in the night, lots of people or robbers or some other people were disturbing the cleaning staff. Now they are doing so many places like waiter or waitresses. It is being like served by the robots. So what the main thing is, there is no doubt that as per the economy, the technologies, the job trends are also changing based on skills. Low and middle skills are definitely will be the biggest hit. Now, what to do for that? How to sustain and rebuild the ecosystem? First, what we need to do, that first of all, every organization and self need to do a self-assessment, that am I able to survive in next 50 years? Suppose if my job is at elementary level, I'm not going to have expertise. Will I be able to survive or not? Like when we make a balance sheet of organization, we make a kind of strategical plan that what are our targets for next 50 years, India 2020, India 2030, India 2040. So we should make that what is Dr. Pradeep in 2030, in 2040. Similarly, an organization where it remains if we are not going to change ourselves. So we need to make, first of all, a self-assessment of ourselves, organization, that where we are lacking, and what more we need to do. That is number one. Number two is, as per our need analysis, we need to make the plan for upskilling or reskilling. Without that, there is no survival in the future. Second thing. Third thing is, we need to have, like, people need to be aware that what is the need of upskilling and reskilling, because change management is itself is a big hurdle. When you say the people who are working from last 20 years in your organization, and you say, sir, now what you were doing is changed, now please you learn a new skill, they will feel offended or bad, or do you not respect their work? So it is not that you are not respecting their work, but because the work culture, style, technology is changed, they have to come for the reskilling. So that change management things also need to be conducted in the organization. People need to consider that what will be the future of jobs. Like already the Forbes has conducted a detailed study that what is the future of job. So people have to think, and start, people who are not well versed with technology, my simple advice to them is that start making some friends through your artificial intelligence devices like Facebook, WhatsApp, or Twitter or Tinder or something, so that when you start using something, automatically around the world, you will have, from the diversity of international community, you will learn what new things are coming. Because if something is coming, before it will actually take over the market, we should have a plan that how I will sustain after 2 to 3 years. Similarly, I was going through with the study of World Economic Forum. They have given on this area 2 suggestions. One is that we must act that what we know and what we don't know. If the major problem in a person's life is we don't know that what I don't know. People think I know everything. But the major problem comes if I downline the line, pen down the lines that where I am not having the much expertise, I need to make a reskilling or upskilling plan of that. And then accordingly, we need to develop a problem solving skills. So problem solving, critical thinking, and that is the only way to build the ecosystem. Otherwise, if we become rigid that no, what I know is the best, then it will be like it is called in Delhi, it is called like Koop Mandu, ek kuएं ka mendak. So what the main thing is, if I will remain in my well and I will think that this is only is called the sea, and when I will see the actual sea, then only I will realize, but maybe by that time it will be too late. So better we need to be connected with the world, with different continents, with different accrediting ranking agencies, and see, and not only ranking agencies or accrediting agencies, major thing is industries, because industries are the main stakeholders which initiate the change. And ultimately, our students from the universities are going to be absorbed in the industry after completion of the course. If we are not able to make our students industry ready, then there is no use of that education. So for making students industry ready, the ecosystem need to be built, that is self-assessment of individual and organization, and then accordingly make the plan. And we should take off our all rigidness and ego in our mind that I am the best. We need to learn and go for continuous improvements. That is the only thing that how we can survive in future.
Knowing what we do not know, flexibility
Exactly.
and adaptability. I think these are the key words to address this particular issue of rebuilding the ecosystem for
Precisely.
sustainability. Otherwise, of course, technology is changing every 6 months. You will find that new means are there, new softwares, new technologies are there, and if we keep on doing the same way, we'll be obsolete.
So, true. When I started computers, sir, I will interrupt you. When I started computers in 1989, at that time, the computers which I was using, that was without any hard disk, without memory, without anything. That was a very big box, and without air conditioner, it could not work. That was the time of radios, very big radios. So when I see how was the IT scenario 32 years before, and now how it has changed, now we feel that what the era we have witnessed, later on, those old things will become stories. And only those people are still in this date of my age who have crossed 50. They will think that only now they can sustain if by the grace of God, they took that decision to change themselves. Otherwise, the people who are more than 50, but they did not change themselves with the technologies, they are definitely into trouble.
So that flexibility needs to be there in the first of all mindset, and then of course in the system and the organization. So ultimately, fittest of the survival will always prevail. Coming to Ashwini to you, it's always better to start early. So the school education, which the way we treat school education, it's still in the primitive era. Less changes have occurred. I mean, leaving apart a few particular institutions, or let's say a handful of institutions, most of the school education, institutions, they are still in the primitive kind of treatment with the students. In what way we can start skill development initially at school education?
See, in the present scenario, skilling at each and every level has become mandate. I mean, there is no substitute to that. As we discussed in the session, that already because of NEP 2020, or maybe because of Government of India movements, or maybe because of Industrial Revolution 4.0, it has become mandate for all of us to start, skilling at the early stage, because that will give them more flexibility in terms of learning. Because it is also a fact that learning at the early stage become more comfortable than learning at the middle or the maybe at the age of 30, 35. So I think now, as per the NEP 2020 also, government is trying to plug in the skilling component in the school education system from 7th class. And that's the reason every state government is going for reimaging of the vocational education, and they are trying to basically plug in skilling at the level of 5th, 6th onwards, so that the youth, whether the boy or girl who's there in the school, they start learning various skill sets which are required, which are mandated as per the Industrial Revolution 4.0, and which are basically need of the hour also, you can say. For example, let's say we studied some practical hands-on somewhere in the class 10th only. Now it is being taught in class 6th only. So that's the things which are changing. Now they are being, they've been asked to perform practicals in 6th, 7th class also. So I think hands-on is a mandate which is being imparted, which is plugged into the school system. And until unless the students, since we have been now talking about experiential learning and outcome-based education, I think it has become mandate, or it is rather preferred that we start working into a system of schooling where we are basically in a position to give skill or hands-on to the student or the youth of the country in the emerging areas, especially in the at the school level. I think that is what we have to start working, where we can start giving, we can start developing various skills among the youth in the class 5th or 6th, or maybe in higher, higher level. But I think we have to start somewhere from the primary school level only now.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. Coming to Pradeep ji, the necessity of starting early, even at school level.
True, sir. Actually, first thing is, I will highlight the point that why the school level itself skill development should be done. If we see the nature of children, kids in the early age are very primitive, are very immature. They don't know the word. They will learn what their parents or teachers are teaching. They are having so much of curiosity and creativity in their mind. So it is very easy to take them into that area. What is the futuristic area? Like if you see in a garden, you see that the new plants are given with the kind of, they are tied up with the kind of stick so that the plant should grow straight. If they will not put a stick, they may go left or right some other area. So if from the beginning of the early childhood, we give them the right path, skill development, because that is the future, it will be very easy. Another thing is that children are having very big quality, that their acceptance to failure in a graceful manner is there. When we become old, that time we feel, if I am failed, what will happen? We feel shy. And we don't accept our failure very gracefully, very happily. Most of the time it happens. So what happens when children are learning the new technologies, and already like India has the revolution has already come. The draft policy was initiated of NEP in 2019, which was under the consideration, and all the vice chancellors and the higher management contributed in shaping the national education. And the final education draft came in March 2020. So by that time, when the NEP 2020, so what happened, that it was realized that school education should be, most of them, in regional languages to save their curiosity, creativity, and their naturalness of their studies and flows. Also, the numerology and other things, like there are 4 basic things which are very, very important to start developing skills in the school level. Like one thing is the foundational skills. Like when we say the number skills or literacy or general awareness about the childhood education. So they must be very conversant with their regional values, country values. So with a very flexible way, in a fun way. Second thing is they need to have some digital literacy, not in terms of very high, but just to understand that what is the technology, how to search the technology, how to search like internet, or creating and sharing the contents, and then definitely build the knowledge, think out of the box. A kind of exercises to be given in early school education, not like the education like it is given on the board or with PPT presentations that this is the chapter of today. But the education should now need to be changed in schools also as a problem-based education, not in the primary schools, but maybe in the secondary schools. Primary schools, just learning and understanding, knowledge system, that's it. But later they need to go little analysis or little working that how to do the different kind of solving skills, because the early a person starts, will a simple manner in small levels, person can handle the difficulties later very easily. And apart from the technical skills, it is very important that soft skills and vocational skills also need to be given to the students. Because if there was a study like that in the US, most of like 80% of students get their vocational skills also within the school. Why the unemployment becoming very high? Like when we see the skill gap between the industry demand and the supply from the educational institutions, the big skill gap find that nearly more than 70% students who are graduated are not able to compete with the industry requirement, because what they are learning actually is not based on what industry actually is demanding. So that gap need to be narrowed, and we need to give some kind of ready hands-on practice to the students, so that this vocational kind of training, like the vocational training, so the person need not to necessarily look for a job. They can become a job creator also. So that we need to give students in the early age, there is no doubt, because at the earlier age, we will give the right support and education to any child. Automatically, the student comes to the right path in the big way, because they are used to learn in that way. Like if you see, like when my son was trying for his bachelor's degree 4 years back in United States, the university MIT, they asked that in your schooling, have you published some research paper into Scopus or Web of Science? So that was the question he was asked by the MIT. That so it means the schooling level itself, students are now doing research. They are publishing their papers in the Scopus or Web of Science journals. So early they start, the better future around the world is available for a child. So this is the only thing that it is very, very necessary that child should start the skill development in early school education. And already the roadmap, skilling, all the things are already into that direction. But only thing is, if it is implemented in a right way, because making policies cannot work alone. We have to make a mindset. We have to understand the necessity of that. And parents need to understand, teachers need to understand that teaching is not enough, but is my student is able to perform what I am teaching? Is my student is able to demonstrate the practicality that what I am teaching to my student? Then that early childhood or skill development will be useful. If it is on paper as a policy, we are forcing, then that skill development will not be possible in school, even if we force that. So there is a need to change, conduct some workshop for the teachers, for our parents, for our students, that why you need to learn these skills. Then inside they will have a change that yes, if I do this, future is good.
So doing is the way rather than merely knowing. So ultimately, someone who can perform, who can execute, who can do something. You know, I was just reading some article by an HR of a good company. They were saying that the CV should be designed in a manner that what can you do? It should not be full of, you know, the information, where have you studied, what have you studied. It should be focused by reading that your utility is there for a particular purpose. So what kind of certain skill sets are you are having, and they are useful for a particular industry or organization. So then only you will be able to employ it. So even in the beginning, Dr. Ashwini said that even preparing a CV is an art, and most of the time students, they do not know how to express themselves so that their skills can get noticed, or they themselves get noticed for the purpose of employment or future growth. So a lot many technological, changes have occurred, and forced changes have occurred due to COVID pandemic. So what sort of emerging areas you foresee, or they are already there in the society or industry, where students should realign themselves to learn such kind of skill sets for the purpose of enhancement of their employability? To begin with, Dr. Ashwini.
Yeah. So I think, we all know that now a lot of information is available on the subject, whatever is being taught either in school, college. So now it has become a challenge for an individual to observe it in one go. And I think that is what basically is required to be looked into. And then when we talk about this, we definitely come into, a skill set which is called micro learning, where you can differentiate and learn, which means you try to basically break the data into small chunks and then try to approach to that, learn it in a better way. I think this is one of the skill set which is required in present scenario when we have been talking about voluminous data. Now, second is that we need to bring a trend in the system which we have been talking, which has been topic of the discussion also, that we need to definitely think of cultivating a culture among everyone, whether it is a youth or old person or aged person or maybe young generation. We need to cultivate the culture of upskilling and reskilling, because in times to come, the way things are changing, the way technology is changing, it has become mandate that we have to have a mindset very clear that we have to work into different job roles. For example, let's say I started my career as a on-site shopper at the counter. Now, with the use of technology, the way things are happening through artificial intelligence, it is possible that I have to work like a live chat consultant. So I think that mindset has to be very clear among the youth. Then we need to also think of, investing in transferable soft skill development. That is what new skill or mindset we have to bring. Because when we join a company, we must have a professional set of skills like hard work, enthusiasm, honesty, integrity, to maintain a position and conduct organizational tasks. But besides this, we also need to understand that how to take care of the leadership, how to manage the crisis, how to go for a problem solving, how to have an analytical thinking. And I think that is again a new skill set which is required by each and every individual when we have been talking about new concept which is coming up. And the fourth and the most important, which I feel, because we have been talking about Startup India, we have been saying that we have to be a job giver than job seeker. So I think we have to cultivate a culture of, or inculcate a culture of entrepreneurship. And that's the reason now even in many state governments, they have been trying to include entrepreneurship development course even at the level of 10th or 12th. Purpose is that we need to understand that more risk, that for entrepreneurship, you have to be ready for taking the risk. And then the new parameter which has come out in the last 3-4 years, which is basically the gamification. Because gamification is the side to next thing is skill development. It leverages the engagement of employees or students to learn and meet the goals efficiently. In research, I think we see by Gardner theory, we can understand that it has been mentioned that the learning power becomes 60% higher by going for the gamification. And that's the reason, because what you see, that you keep in mind more than what you learn. I mean, you watch or you perform, that you basically, you are in a position to pick up or keep for longer time, and you can absorb more. So I think these are the areas where we have to start working. I mean, these are the trends which are happening in the system as a whole.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini, for providing a pinpointed reply. Coming to Dr. Pradeep.
Yeah, actually, there is a very much requirement that in today's time, when our student comes to the college, normally their basic idea or the parents' basic goal comes that how much marks my student or my son or my daughter will achieve. Will they get very good high percentage marks, topper of the universities or not? But what we emphasize always, that being a topper in the college is good, but is not necessary. What a student, lots of companies, what they do in HR, like there was a report by the McKinsey and company, the recent report, which about the HR managers, new surveys of HR managers in 20 countries. They say that they are not emphasizing on those students who are getting like 95 or 100% marks, because those students will be most of the time giving emphasis to studies only. In life, to become successful, to become a good entrepreneur, to become a good successful technologist, a person apart from the technologies, they choose those people more who are between the 80% of marks, because that student will be working not only on technology, the person will be spending time of gaming also, extracurricular activities also, participation in quiz or leadership programs also, developing problem solving also, and so many other activities. Now, if we go about the holistic development of the student, it is only possible when our students are working on all areas of learning. So learning is very, very important. And other thing, that how we need to think that how technology we can leverage into the different area. Like when we think the the person who sells pan in Mumbai, people must heard about the Muchchad Panwala. The first Panwala person who became internationally famous to sell their pans. They go from air cargo. Similarly, if you see about like Chetan Bhagat, Mr. Chetan Bhagat did his IIM because parents were saying that you do. Later, he revealed that no, actually, I was more prone or more happy to write the things. So he started writing novels and wrote a lot of film movies. So what the main thing, another story, like I remember the IIM Chaiwala, the people who did IIM and toppers, but actually they followed their passion. So one thing is very, very important. Education, perfection, technologies are very important. But all these need to be linked with the passion, that what I want to do in my life. Anything you want to do, you need to be perfect. Try to get more expertise into that area. That is the one. Leveraging technology is required in every area. Either a person is now selling a shoe or pan or anything else. Without technology, no growth of the business. Person will remain a very local person only, cannot come on the international platform. Second thing. Third thing is the learning. When we are saying students, we need to involve our students by in doing. Otherwise, what will happen? So it means we need to make the research and writing research papers, doing social work, doing work for the human values, working on extension activities as a part of curriculum. So students should feel that only learning the technical subjects, you cannot become a successful man, or the world cannot be good. Person need to have a good blend of like analytical, cognitive skills and technical skills. Spend the time. Parents also need to advise their children that always keeping book will not help you. You need to study good, but you need to spend time in other positive learnings also, like team building and how to enjoy with all together, social life, emotional life. Lots of people, and was very important thing is to learn for today's student is acceptance of failure. I know a lot of people who are getting top grades all the time in their life. But after 20 years, one of the project of that person was failed. And because that person was not always like never ready to accept any failure, that person committed suicide. That how I am topper, always I am a topper, how I can fail in my one project. The person could not bear that load. So one thing is there, as the technologies are growing, a mental pressure, peer pressure is also increasing to all industrialists, to all students and everyone. So we need to train our faculty, our teachers, our staff members, students, that technology is important, but with technology, a right proportionate of other skills, learning or for emotional quotient, social quotient, and then how to accept failure and not to give up with the failures, come again, stand again, and learn again. That is the main thing, that how you can do your upskilling or reskilling, that things will come. This is now technology like industry 4.0. Another one is coming very shortly, maybe another 2-3 years, it will come 5.0. Another one, Japan already is planning for 7.0. So these changes will come forever till we are alive or our generation are coming up. These changes will never stop. But what we need to do, there is a need to make our mind to take the things in a calm order, in a planned order, in like seeing that what I need to do after 10 years or 5 years, plan it now. If you will seed now in the ground, then only after 5 years you will able to get the fruits of that. So that thing, that for success there is no shortcut. We need to teach to our students, our children, that what you want to do, plan it today. If planning is there, hard work is there, most of the chances are there for the success, for the better future. There is no problem at all.
So accepting failure, that's the biggest challenge nowadays, because right from early days, we force our kids to be a winner, to be successful rather than focusing on the process of learning, because life itself is a process of learning. You evolve, whatever mistakes you have done 10 years back, you might not be doing now because you have evolved, by learning through those mistakes. So life skills is again a bigger, area where one can thrust upon, not merely acquiring technical skills or a particular set of skills to execute or perform. So one last question, since we have still 9 minutes to go to start the second session. A major chunk of the demographic lives in rural India, rural areas. So of course, obviously, technology has touched all the aspects of life, but still the picture is there is a different picture when it comes to rural areas. So what kind of skill areas, upcoming skill areas, can be foreseen when it comes to villages and rural areas? This question is to begin with Dr. Ashwini.
Yeah, I think very rightly and very pointed question, especially in the present scenario, when we say that major population still resides in the rural area. And that's the reason Government of India is also basically emphasizing that we need to ensure that we are able to develop more skill centers in the village area. When I'm saying the skilling in the rural areas, what is more important is that we need to basically develop knowledge, skill, and attitude to work in the land-based industries. Because once we go to rural area, I think it is mainly to the land-based industries only. And when we say land-based industry, skill sets are required to be developed in agriculture, livestock, equine industries, horticulture, landscaping, agriculture, crops, and animal care. Because these are the only industries which can be promoted or which can be taken care in the rural area. Now, looking to this only, the Government of India has come out with many policies where they are trying to emphasize on skilling in the rural area through Pradhan Mantri skill development centers and other activities. Now, what we need to understand is that we need to ensure that when we are talking about youth in the rural area and when we are targeting areas like agriculture, livestock, or maybe agriculture, crops, or animal care, we need to ensure that we are able to teach them, we are able to develop the skill sets in them using the regional language, because that's the only way we can cultivate the skilling in their attitude and their system. Then we have to also develop a skill set which is very much required in the rural area, is the timekeeping and appearance and customer care, because we take very lightly in terms of times and customer handling, because we go by considering that village is a family and we can talk to each and everyone very frankly and openly. We can take care of other things. Sometimes it gives advantage, but in the present scenario, when we have been saying that it is a competitive world, we need to definitely ensure that we develop a skill set where we basically focus on timekeeping, appearance, and customer care, because the dress code also is very important. Then, self-evaluation skills, which Dr. Pradeep also said just now, and even Dr. Puneet also said, that yes, we need to also understand that we are able to evaluate ourselves, whether we are a master of all or jack of none, or whether we are jack of all or master of none. So I think that part needs to be understood and to be taught in the rural area. And then is basically, flexible approach to solving problems, because we have to work out that our approaches should be very flexible depending upon circumstances. And that's the reason we say that we have to be more adaptable. That is very important. And then we need to have a positive attitude to the change, because the way things are changing, the way technology has come into picture, the way policies are changing, the way social and demographic changes are happening, those who are in the rural area need to have a skill set where they are basically given a skill to be to have a positive attitude. And then, of course, confidence building activities to be taken up as a part of the skill, where they learn from experience and they basically set their goals to be achieved by them. So I think they are like what is there in the rural area, which will be applicable to urban area also. But mainly the rural area, the timekeeping, experience, customer care, these have to be taken on priority.
Rightly said, pointed out the niche or the gray area where we can start some kind of skill activities in the rural areas. Coming to Dr. Pradeep.
Yeah, actually, when we talk about the rural area, the biggest challenge for growth or higher education or technological reforms comes there. Number one, that they are not having so much of technological advantages there. Number one is that why they don't have, number one is in all rural areas, now the government is also focusing on construction of good roads. But first thing is, if roads are not there to the rural area in the depth of rural area, how the big companies will reach there? First thing is transportation and reaching to the rural area. The government by the Ministry of Transport and the National Highways, they have made already a very big plan for reaching all the rural areas. Number one, reaching there. Second thing, problems that how we can resolve, that government also has started one thing, that how to impart education through radio and TV channels also, so that people can get education. The role of other higher education institutions comes that while we are focusing on synchronous learning, that is the faculty and students are learning and teaching like at the same time it is happening. In the rural area, we need to make our policy of learning of asynchronous learning through learning management system, that is the LMS, which widely organizations like in urban area they are using. In urban area, what is happening, like there is a learning on blended platform. Like here also in Africa, what we are implementing is virtual blended learning platform, so that students are getting a flip mode of education, that students are given all the study materials, contents in advance, so that when they are coming in the classes, they come with certain background that what they are going to study. But this is not the advantages available to the rural area, because they themselves having the problem of internet, that devices, all those things. So to come up, to bring up our urban areas in India and Africa, everywhere, the major thing is we need to emphasize on asynchronous learning, because with that case, we can give them our learning sessions in sort of CDs or memory or pen drives, we can send there, and then they can learn as their own pace and time. So that this is the one thing. Second thing is also, like if I talk about in India, government has initiated, like there are almost more than 10 initiatives have been taken by the Prime Minister's office. Like another thing, like when we talk about the e-Pathshala system is there. Then another very good system the government has started there, that is the Vidwan. If we go on vidwan.com, that is a very good initiative, that in the whole of India, all the people who are having a good educational background, they are like academicians, they can enroll themselves free, and they can have a pool of all academicians together, so that they can share their ideas and they can contribute to the growth of nation. So similarly, like there are the need to grow the urban area. It is very, very important that all the educationists, all the industrialists need to join hand together and provide some support, because always we cannot look towards government, that government will reach out everywhere, because where we are living, from where we have come, that is also our social responsibility, that as a part of, and lots of even like organization as a part of CSR activity, if any government, like any good institution is having a plan that this is how we want to distribute CDs or pen drives to the urban areas, and they can also give their name on those pen drives as one of the contributor. So multiple people will get, like the old mobile phones, smartphones, which people are now in cities, they are not using. They are replacing with the new mobile sets. What they can do, we can have an initiation that let's collect all those things, which now people feel that it is not for my use, but collect it still if they are working. We can distribute to all rural areas. So at least number of thousands of people who will be connected with the smartphone, and they can start going through the synchronous or asynchronous model of education. So the rural area has to come up. Still, a majority of people are in rural area, residing in rural areas. If I talk about in Uganda, 80% of population in rural area. Similarly, India now, because a good developed country, it has become like more than 60 people. Still 40% people, more than 40s are in urban area, which they are not having very good internet facilities. But now the developments are going very fast. But what we need to do, we need to understand our CSR role, that what are the social responsibilities role we have. Then also, as you can say, education is, we need to develop some asynchronous mode of learning management tools, so that students, because every teacher cannot reach to the urban area, but we can provide our education, we can link them through internet, through radio, or through televisions, that how we can take them and they can come for assessments, so that we can see that what kind of survey or conductions, what they are lacking. Accordingly, we can amend our education system or teaching methodology, so that with that pedagogy, changing the pedagogy, we need to do for better services in the urban area. So the demand is there, solution is there. Only thing is people need to come up, join heads with industries. And I find that so many industries we applied, like what we did here in Uganda, that we contributed, we approached to like so many organizations, that this is our plan. We want to give free education to those people. Only thing is what we need some funding from you. Our people, a team will go to the villages, provide some small tablets or something. So can you help us to provide tablets? You can print your stamp on that. It's okay. You make your publicity. So they will also get some benefit, that their name is getting promoted in all the rural areas. And our purpose is, we don't want the name, but if they are getting some gadgets, some old mobile phone, if you are not using, give them to those people, and automatically they will be connected through our learning management system, and they will come up with the mainstream, and more people will come up in the mainstream. So it can be done. Solutions are there. Only thing is people need to join hands together, and things will change.
Thank you, Dr. Pradeep. So every challenge is a gateway for opportunity. And no matter whether it is 50 years back time or today, or 20 years ahead of this particular time, the changes are inevitable. So need of skilling, reskilling, and upskilling has already been there, and it will also be there in the coming times. So change is the permanent thing in life. One needs to be always dynamic to acquire new set of skills, to be abreast with the present trends in the market. Otherwise, one may not survive. So, it was a great session. Thank you, Ashwini ji. Thank you, Pradeep ji, for being with us and sharing your, thoughts and experiences with us. And I'm sure those who have attended the session through login or through Facebook, and subsequently the concurrent viewers, those who will be able to watch this program at YouTube, they will be benefited. And I'm sure in the coming times we'll be having more sessions on this particular area, because the subject is very vast. And
thank you, Puneet ji, for nice moderation, and also thanks to Trigen Technology, Anand Group, and Deetya for providing this platform to have conversation and discussion on such an important and current topic of the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Sharma ji. Thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Trigen. And thank you, Professor Sharma, Professor Puneet Sharma ji, for this wonderful moderation and taking all together. It's also an initiative of nation building. Because when people talk about this, the first thing comes, when idea comes in our mind, what to do, then only things comes up in the future plan. So this is a great initiative. We thank you all to you for this wonderful opportunity to collaborate and collect or combine us all together. Thank you.
Yes,
so much.
Collaboration is the key. Ekla Chalore cannot sustain. We need to come together. Thank you once again.